This chapter is called The Thought Factor in Achievement. And really, each one of these chapters can be all that a man achieves and all that he fails to achieve is the direct result of his own thoughts. In a justly ordered universe, where loss of equipoise would mean total destruction, individual responsibility must be absolute. A man's weakness and strength, purity and impurity are his own and not another man's. They are brought about by himself and not by another. And they can only be altered by himself, never by another. As he thinks, so he is. As he continues to think, so he remains. A strong man cannot help a weaker unless that weaker is willing to be helped. And even then, the weak man must become strong of himself. He must, by his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in another. None but himself can alter his condition. It has been unusual for men to think and to say, quote, many men are slaves because one is an oppressor. Let us hate the oppressor, unquote. Now, however, there is amongst an increasing few a tendency to reverse this judgment and to say, quote, one man is an oppressor because many are slaves. Let us despise the slaves. The truth is that oppressor and slave are co-operators in ignorance. And while seeming to afflict each other, are in reality afflicting themselves. A perfect knowledge perceives the action of law in the weakness of the oppressed and the misapplied power of the oppressor. A perfect love sees the suffering which both states entail, condemns neither. A perfect compassion embraces both oppressor and oppressed. He who has conquered weakness has put away all selfishness, all selfish thoughts. Belongs neither to oppressor nor oppressed. He is free. A man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserable by refusing to lift up his thoughts. Before a man can achieve anything, even in worldly things, he must lift his thoughts above slavish animal indulgence. He must not, in order to succeed, give up all animality. and selfishness by any means, but a portion of it must at least be sacrificed. A man whose first thought is bestial, indulgence, bestial, indulgence, could neither think clearly nor plan methodically. He could not find and develop his latent resources and would fail in any undertaking, fit to act independently and stand alone. But he is limited only by his thoughts, which he chooses. There can be no progress, no achievement without sacrifice. And a man's worldly success will be the measure that he sacrifices his confused animal thoughts and fixes his mind on the development of his plans and the strengthening of his resolution and self-reliance. And the higher he lifts his thoughts, the more manly, upright, and righteous he becomes, the greater will be his success, and the more blessed and enduring will be his achievements. The universe does not favor the greedy, the dishonest, the vicious, although on the mere surface it may sometimes appear to do so. It helps the honest, the magnanimous, the virtuous. All the great teachers of the ages have declared this in varying forms. And to prove and know it, a man has but to persist in making himself more and more virtuous by lifting up his thoughts. Intellectual achievements are the result of thought concentrated to the search for knowledge or for the beautiful and the true in life and nature. Such achievements may be sometimes connected with vanity and ambition, but they are not the outcome of those characteristics. They are the natural outgrowth of long and arduous effort and the pure and unselfish thoughts. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. Spiritual achievements are the consummation of holy aspirations. He who lives constantly in the conception of noble and lofty thoughts, who dwells upon all that is pure and unselfish, will, as surely as the sun reaches its zenith and the moon its full, become wise and noble in character and rise into a position of influence and the diadem of thought by the aid of self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, and well-directed thought. A man ascends by the aid of animality, indolence, impurity, corruption, and confusion of thought. and man descends. A man may rise to high success in the world and even to lofty altitudes, lofty in the spiritual realm, and again descend into weakness and wretchedness by allowing arrogant, selfish, and corrupt thoughts to take possession of him. Victorious or victories attained by right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness. Many give way when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. We've known that, whether in your personal life or you know others who have had that experience, coming very close to recovering from whatever has obsessed them, only to turn back full throttle. All achievements, whether in business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definitely directed thought, are governed by the same law, and are by the same method. The only difference in the object of attainment, the only difference lies, in the object of the attainment. He who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. He who would achieve much must sacrifice much. He who would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. I think we're still on. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. I think we're still on. Yeah. All right. Keep watching. Well, if you're watching, please forgive me. This is just a test. And I'm testing out the functionality of my newly installed high-speed internet, so that if this works, and by reading the final chapters of the book, As a Man Thinketh, I can test out whether this is going to crash in the middle of the show. But it seems, it seems everything is good. So let's move on to the next chapter. These are very short, and then it's the end. So 2 more chapters. Visions and ideals. I love this. The dreamers are the saviors of the world. As the visible world is sustained by the invisible, so men, through all their trials and sins and sordid vocations, are nourished by the beautiful visions of their solitary dreamers. Humanity cannot forget its dreamers. It cannot let their ideals fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them as the realities which it shall one day see and know. Composers, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage, These are the makers of the afterworld, the architects of heaven. The world is beautiful because they have lived. Without them, laboring humanity would perish. He who cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in his heart, will one day realize it. Columbus cherished a vision of another world, and he discovered it. Buddha beheld the vision of a spiritual world, of stainless beauty and perfect peace, and he entered into it. Cherish your visions. Cherish your ideals. Cherish the music that stirs in your heart, the beauty that forms in your mind, the loveliness that drapes your purest thoughts. For out of them will grow all delightful conditions, all heavenly environments. Of these, if you but remain true to them, your world will at last be built. To desire is to obtain, and his purest aspirations starve for lack of sustenance. Such is not the law. Such a condition of things can never obtain. Quote, ask and receive. Dream lofty dreams. As you dream, so shall you become. Your vision is the promise of what you shall one day be. Your ideal is the prophecy of what you shall at last unveil. The greatest achievement was at first, and for a time, a dream. The oak sleeps in the acorn. The bird awaits in the egg. And the highest vision of the soul, a walking angel stirs. Dreams are the seedlings of reality. Ah, is that not the most beautiful thing you've ever heard? I think so. Your circumstances may be uncongenial, but they shall not last long. So if you but perceive an ideal and strive to achieve it, you cannot travel within and stand still without. Here is a youth hard pressed by poverty and labor, confined long hours in an unhealthy workshop, unschooled and lacking all arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, of refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of mentally builds up an ideal condition of life. The vision of a wider liberty and a larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action, and he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon, so altered has his mind become that the workshop can no longer hold him. He has become so out of harmony with his mentality that it falls out of his life as a garment is cast aside. And with the growth of opportunities which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes out of it forever. Years later, we see his youth, this same youth, as a full-grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of the mind, which he wields with worldwide influence and almost unequaled power. In his hands, he holds the cords of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks, and lo, lives are changed. Men and women hang upon his words and remold their character. And, sun-like, he becomes the fixed and luminous center round which innumerable destinies revolve. He realized the vision of his youth. He has become one with his ideal. And you too, youthful reader, will realize the vision, not the ideal wish of your heart, be it base or beautiful, or a mixture of both. For you will always gravitate towards that which you secretly most love. Into your hands will be placed the exact results of your own thoughts. You will receive that which you earn. No more, no less. Whatever your present environment may be, you will fail, remain, or rise with your thoughts, your vision, your ideal. You will become as small as your controlling desire and as great as your dominant aspiration. And in the beautiful words of Staten Kirkham Davis, quote, "You may be keeping accounts, and presently you shall walk out of the door that for so long has seemed to you the barrier of your ideals, and shall find yourself before an audience, the pen still behind your ear, the ink stains on your fingers, and then there shall pour out your torrent of inspiration. You may be driving sheep. You shall wander to the city bucolic and open-mouthed, shall wander under the intrepid guidance of the Spirit into the studio of a master. And after a time, he shall say, quote, I have nothing more to teach you. And now you have become the master. Who did so recently dream of great things while driving sheep? You shall lay down the saw and the plane to take upon yourself the regeneration of the world. The thoughtless, the ignorant, the indolent, seeing only the apparent effects of things and not the things themselves, talk of luck, fortune, chance. Seeing a man grow rich, they say, quote, how lucky he is, unquote. Observing another become intellectual, they exclaim, quote, how highly favored he is, unquote. And noting the saintly character and wide influence of another, they remark, how chance aids at every turn they who do not see the trials and failures and struggles with which men have voluntarily encountered in order to gain their experience, have no knowledge of the sacrifices they have made, of the undaunted efforts they have put forth, and of the faith they have exercised, and they might overcome the apparently insurmountable and realize the vision of their heart. They do not know the darkness and the heartaches. They only see the light and the joy and call it luck. They do not see the long and arduous journey, but only behold the pleasant goal and call it good fortune. Do not understand the process, but only perceive the result and call it chance. In all human affairs, there are efforts and there are results. And the strength of an effort is the measure of the result. Chance is not, quote, gifts, powers, material, intellectual, or spiritual possessions are the fruits of effort. They are thoughts, completed, objects, accomplished, visions realized. The vision that you glory in your mind, the ideal that you enthrone in your heart, this will build your life. This you will become. If we were taught this in school, how much more valuable would it be than the mountains of useless information that we had to sift through in order to be accepted as smart? All of it can be thrown in the trash without the foundation of character, vision, dream, self-belief. That's what this is about. Last chapter, I think I'm going to be able to, perhaps even tomorrow, hallelujah, for that too. Last chapter. And it would be called Serenity. Serenity. All right. Calmness of mind is one of the most beautiful jewels of wisdom. Yes, it is. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. A man becomes calm in measure by that he understands himself as a thought evolved being. For knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as a result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve, and to remain poised, steadfast, and serene. The calm man, having learned how to govern himself, knows how to adapt himself to others, and they, in turn, reverence his spiritual strength and feel they can learn of him and rely upon him. The more tranquil a man becomes, the greater is his success, his influence, his power for good. Even the ordinary trader will find his business prosperity increase as he develops a greater self-control and equanimity. Equanimity. Strong, calm man is always loved and revered. He is like shade-giving tree in a thirsty land, or a sheltering rock in a stream. Who does not love a tranquil heart, a sweet-tempered, balanced life? It does not matter if it rains or shines, or what changes come to those possessing these blessings, for they're always sweet, serene, and calm. The exquisite poise of character, which we call serenity, is the last lesson of culture, the fruitage of the soul. It is precious as wisdom, more to be desired than gold, yea, than even fine gold. How insignificant mere money-seeking looks in comparison with a serene life, a life that dwells in the ocean of truth, beneath the waves, beyond the reach of tempests, in the eternal calm. How many people we know who sour their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers, who destroy their poise of character and make bad blood. It is a question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their lives and mar their happiness by lack of self-control. How few people we meet in life who are well balanced, who have that exquisite poise, which is characteristic of the finished character. Yes, humanity surges with uncontrollable passions. is tumultuous with ungoverned grief, is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only he whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Tempest-tossed souls, wherever you may be, under whatever condition you may live, know this: in the ocean of life, the isles of blessedness are smiling, and the sunny shore of your ideal awaits your coming. Keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does not sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say unto your heart, peace, be still. As a man thinketh, I think one of the most profound books written. You could build an entire religion around it. And so, all right, see what's going on. What's going on? Oh my God. All right. All right, I think that we'll stop there. And I confirm that live stream is working. So it was a good thing that I decided to take this step forward. I am technically very challenged, and I appreciate everyone's patience, but probably tomorrow will be our first live tarot session together. So if you watch this later, and I intend for you to watch it as a sort of announcement of what's coming and a little preview of the kind of thing that you're going to find in my Patreon page, place. I have a rather extensive knowledge of mystical writings, since I've immersed myself in them most of my life. And I've managed to multi-layered aspect of consciousness, which I find absolutely fascinating, including the nature of dreams, their purpose, and their use as therapy, as an example. But there are so many fascinating ideas that we'll start to explore together soon come. Now that I've got this technical part of it somewhat tackled. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Thank you, everyone. And namaste. All my love. So let me get up reach over and end this stream. All right.